Hello wonderful viewer, welcome back for Mission 8 of the Terran Broodwar AI campaign for insanitybot. We're going to be playing Mission 8, which is our final mission. If you've made it this far, I'd like to thank you for your time and interest. It was very fun to be able to share a personal project of mine with other people, so I do appreciate your interest. If I've annoyed anybody with my hums and haws, the way I move the mouse around the map, or like any odd noises you hear in the background of my microphone, I do apologize. I'm not a professional by any means, so I do thank you for making it this far, and we will go ahead and get straight into this mission. So Mission 8 is certainly a unique experience. There are 3 enemy Zergs on the map, and each one has a special trait. So we have a red Zerg, a brown Zerg, and a orange Zerg. So you'll see here we're losing some units because these bunkers start off with 3 Marines inside a piece, and we start off with 2 medics and 2 Marines at our main base. So what insanitybot tries to do is it tries to fill out these bunkers with, an even amount of 4 Marines per one, but they get killed by the sunken colony, and then the units try to path back home since the bunker is now full, but they walk straight through the sunken colony field and die. So the reason why they're not fighting back at all is because Red's sunken colonies, these defensive structures, are actually invincible on this map. So the only way we have to deal with these sunken colonies is we have to kill the Red Cerebrid, which is here on the map. To do that, we're going to stick with a 1-base play, so we won't have to try to bounce units back and forth between this expansion and our main base, because there are red sunken colonies in the way. There is like a back route, but that would take some fine-tuned hard coding for me to tell insanitybot to never send units this way and to go around the backside. So rather than do that, he's just going to do a 1-base play until the red Cerebrit is dead, and then we'll flip to a 2-base strategy. So just to get things started, we'll go up to 3 barracks, so we have plenty of production of Marine Medic for defense, as well as to fill those dropships that we'll be building eventually. We're going to continue to add on SCVs to get our economy up and running, and then we will add a factory, starport, get those dropships, and go do that drop. So you'll notice also, unlike previous maps where insanitybot goes bio, on this map he'll actually keep his factory on the ground, and he will build 4 siege tanks to help defend the base. And this is due to the unique threat that Brown Zerg brings to the table. Brown Zerg's special trait is they have a hero unit known as the Tarrasque. The Tarrasque is an Ultralisk that has 800 HP, I think 7 armor, and does 50 damage every swipe of its big claws. So it is absolutely a monster to deal with. You'll notice that Marines only have 40 HP. That means the Tarrasque can kill a Marine every time it attacks. And the Marine only does 6 damage by default without upgrades, so the Marine's actually doing less than 1 damage every shot to the Tarrasque. So the Marines on their own would have to shoot the Tarrasque over 800 times before the Tarrasque would be dead. So to kind of help speed up that process, we'll add in a couple of siege tanks for defense. And then once Brown is dealt with, those siege tanks will be used to push forward towards the last objective. And the last objective on the map is Orange. Orange is the last Zerg we will face with. They have by far the most tech, the best upgrades, and the biggest base. Their specialty is they have these infested Terran command centers, which can spawn the suicide unit, the infested Terran. It does, I think, 200 damage worth of explosion. It's like a little suicide unit that spawns out and can run up and blow up a bunch of your units, so they use these pretty liberally. But we really don't have to worry about Orange until much later. On the start of this map, the only Zerg that really attacks you is Red. Then after a certain amount of time, Brown will join in, and then after even more time, Orange will join in the fight. But for the most part, all we have to deal with is Red at the moment. So we'll build our Hunter squads to deal with the initial attacks that come our way. In the meantime, we're also going to tech up, add in the factory, we'll add on the starport. We'll keep building supply depots, and when we're ready, we'll go make that drop happen across the map. Oh yes, I forgot. We go up to 5 barracks for now, and then when we get more second base, we'll go up to 7 barracks, and then when we get a third base, we'll go up to, I think the maximum was 12. There's a base in this top left area that insanitybot will eventually get control of that has a vast amount of minerals at its disposal, and that's when we'll really turn up the production and kind of steamroll the rest of the map. So in the meantime, we're just sitting back, building up, and getting upgrades. We're adding that starport. You'll notice we stop marine production until the starport is finished and the dropships have been constructed. That's just due to insanitybot not taking up the gas for medic production, so it just kind of reserves its money and doesn't worry about building additional bio past these first initial squads until those dropships are made, just to kind of save on money. We will add on those siege tanks like I mentioned, just in preparation of that Tarrasque that will show up in a few minutes here. The siege tanks will kind of hang around the engineering bay. It's just a convenient central position. Well, they'll siege up and they can shoot the Tarrasque if it comes from this direction, or if it comes from up top, it'll start engaging the Marines, and the siege tank can shell from that distance. We're currently supply blocked, so we'll just add on a couple of supply depots, and then we should get those dropships being made. Oh yeah, and that's that base I mentioned. We scanned it just to check on various bases around the map, see if we know, what is where and who has what.
SCV, good to go, sir.
This is also, the main base has a lot of minerals, but they're kind of distant from the base itself. It is funny because the terrain analyzer takes these 3 end minerals and considers these a separate base from the main. So technically the next base we should expand to according to the map analyzer is here, but we're going to ignore that because, we are going to harvest these slowly anyway, so there's no real point to make another command center just for these 3 patches. Second dropship is being made. You notice we lost a Marine in the defensive squad, so a new one was made, but since the drop squad is taking precedence in this case, it loads up into the dropship, and we won't make more until the dropships are finished. We will add on the other 2 tanks that are remaining, siege up in preparation for that hero unit to show up. It's the 3rd dropship. We'll get 1 more after this, and then it's go time.
Upgrade complete.
We won't bother about upgrades for the siege tank. Mech upgrades do scale very, very well, but we're not going to make more than 4 siege tanks, so we're going to save our gas and our minerals for unit upgrades and marine production, as well as science vessels when the time comes.
Can I take your order?
It is more efficient to wait to build siege tanks until after the dropships are made, but again, I wanted these in place early for just to be ready for when that hero unit shows up, because the Tarrasque will easily kill 70 units before we can take it down, so having a few siege tanks here definitely makes that engagement a lot easier. We've saturated our main well enough that we're not worried about building additional SCVs, and now that the last dropship is underway, we're going to work on filling up with our drop squads. Supply depots are almost done to catch up with our capped supply. We'll add on a science facility while this is happening, just to get those vessels after we, expand and are able to actually move freely around the map without having to worry about the invincible sunken colonies. trying to stack the depots in an intelligent manner. And the red attack coming in. Fortunately, this leads straight into our bio units that are waiting, so this won't really do anything. The priority for filling up squads goes defensive unit. The defensive squad, the Aegis squad, always gets priority for anything that's made. So that's why, even though the second highest priority is loading up drop squads, you'll see these freshly constructed units will go to the Aegis squad since it lost a few units. And then after those are made, it will go to the drop squad, or if the drop squad doesn't need a unit like this medic, then they'll get sent to the normal bio squad. And you may have seen in the left side there was a tortured roar and a little notification on the map. That means the Tarrasque is loose and it's on its way. Fortunately for us, the first time the Tarrasque spawns, it only spawns with half of its total HP, so 400 instead of 800. You know, just a oh, I almost said a command center. That's SC2, I believe, has 400 HP. Or no, I was just thinking of the mineral cost. No, what am I thinking? Oh, I'm just crazy. All right, the drop squads are nearly complete. Once they are full, they are going to move out. The Tarrasque looks like went to our natural to kill this bunker. Not a big deal for us. It'll path over, and it's going to get blown to oblivion by these siege tanks. So here goes our drop squad. We're going to drop directly on this spore colony. They're all trying to drop on the same spot, so occasionally the dropship sits there because the space it's trying to drop to is full and occupied, and thus it'll sit there and still be full, and then it can't unload until the dropship in front of it is done. But yeah, so the drop was successful. We cleared out the landing zone. We have more than enough units to kill this Cerebrit. And even though we're losing the occasional unit because the sunken colonies are still dishing out damage, we should have enough units just to finish off the Cerebrit. And yep, there it goes. Red becomes neutral as it's eliminated from the match. And this drop squad, since it's not on an island, it just reverts back to being normal units, and it gets assigned squads all on its own. While that was all happening, we had the Tarrasque come in and get killed by the siege tanks. It looks like it killed all but one of the siege tanks, which isn't too big a deal, as again they're just mostly here for base defense. You may have seen units fly up in this direction. Those were the dropships, as we don't need the 4 dropships anymore, so we just sent them off to their death on this map. Excuse me. On this map, I did feel it was important to free up as much supply as possible, because pushing through Orange's base is quite the task, and so we need as many units as we can. So normally these siege tanks would path over to the natural, and they'd kind of siege up back here to help defend the natural, but they got unfortunately fenced in by this barracks that was built right next to them, so that even though it looks like they have plenty of space to drive out of here, they can't actually fit through this space. So they are officially stuck in this area, which isn't too bad for defending the main from the Tarrasque, but it just means the natural is going to be less defended than it would be before. Our hunter units that are full are out on the map. They're going to start killing these sunken colonies, and the next objective for them to complete is to push in and kill Brown. Killing Brown isn't necessary for the completion of this mission, although it does stop the Tarrasque from coming in, every 3 minutes or so and killing a ton of units. So it is in our best interest to go and kill Brown as quickly as we can after Red has fallen. We have a nice healthy amount of squads here. Here is the Tarrasque. He's got his 800 HP, 7 armor, 53 damage a swipe, and yeah, you just see him just eat through Marines. Fortunately, we have our siege tanks below, dishing out major damage. Our tanks are doing splash damage against our bio, but our bio's dying so fast, I'd rather lose a few units to tank splash than, not kill the Tarrasque as fast as possible. Alright, we have 4 squads, it looks like, making their way over towards Brown. These squads are so intermingled, their movement forward is actually kind of hampered because they're trying to stick close to one another, but they're bumping into all of the other squads around them. Again, this kind of behavior of like clumping and grouping up and slower movement kind of gets tossed to the wayside if we hit that max supply limit. But I doubt we'll reach that point. This squad is going to start encountering Brown's defenses soon, and we'll start losing more units. So here's the first sunken colony. One among many to get all the way back to Brown's base. And even more likely is this squad is probably going to reach up to here when the Tarrasque spawns again. And then the Tarrasque will probably kill this entire strike force. Maybe getting to like half HP before moving on to come attack our base directly. But we've since taken our natural expansion. It is quite sizable, though these minerals are not placed super well for us, so mining both in the main base as well as the natural base is kind of inefficient despite how many patches there are. So our mineral income isn't quite as high as we'd like it to be, but we'll make do. Oh, that was a good lurker shot. There's the Tarrasque. Yeah, like I said, it's gonna chew through this entire strike force. I mean, there's a chance they kill it, but I don't think that's very likely. Oh, maybe. Every single gun is trained on the Tarrasque. Well, they got close. They did get close. It's misleading because you see how fast they're chunking down its HP, and it makes you think like, oh yeah, no, for sure they'll kill it. But like every time the Tarrasque swings its claws, it kills another unit, and that's one less gun to like damage it. So the rate at which it loses HP slowly falls, and then it's going to chase these medics all the way home before getting killed by these siege tanks. Oh, there's a Dark Swarm over our main. That's from Orange. Orange is the only Zerg that has defilers on this map. Alright, siege tanks. Save as many as you can. Alright, there you go. You'll notice this squad being pulled to the top left. That is because the main is low enough where we're considering expanding. So this squad is going to come up here and going to clear away the sunken colonies to make space for our expansion to fit on. We also have to wait for the creep to recede, which is pretty annoying because there's so much creep around here. It takes a long time to fully evacuate, this zone. Do have a science vessel out. The science vessels, they tend to get killed for a while until Brown is dead. Excuse me. And that is because there are just these high ground points with spore colonies and Scourge just littered throughout the map. So they're not inconvenient places for like ground forces to really clear away. So the science vessels will try to fly over to rendezvous with the squad that's furthest up, but they'll run into these high ground anti-air units and just die. But when we kill Brown, a lot of those will become inactive and will allow the science vessels to flow more freely towards the front line. It also helps when the tanks become active on the offense instead of just sitting back and waiting for the Tarrasque, because they're able to siege up and hit the high ground. So this force is cleared away. Now we're just waiting for the creep to recede before grabbing this expansion. It's actually better for us if we don't take this before the Tarrasque is fully dead. And that's because the Tarrasque tends to attack this base if it's up and running. I think it's kind of random which base it decides to attack, but in my experience, when insanitybot takes this base before the Tarrasque is fully dealt with, it tends to come up here and just absolutely annihilate everybody. Alright, there's the Tarrasque, unfortunately meeting our next wave of attackers head on. This will probably be a similar story of it getting pretty low. Maybe they'll kill it this time. Nice. Okay, that's a big deal. So now the timer resets. We have a little bit of time, a small window, to try to push through these last defenders and get to that Cerebrate in the back. Every push insanitybot does into Brown's territory, it eliminates more and more buildings, more and more defenders, and eventually Brown will break. But it's just a matter of timing, because we have to hit this area before the Tarrasque comes back, because the Tarrasque will just, you know, as you've seen, eat the strike force alive. So we have to make sure our timing works out. Hopefully, I think we should have enough time with the forces we have left to kill the Cerebrate, although our fire is going to keep getting drawn away by the defensive units around. This creep is almost completely dealt with. It's almost, and then this is when we really can start producing even more Marines and medics all at once, because that base is exceptionally high in minerals, and we can harvest it really efficiently. So you'll see us go up to like 12 barracks, and then we'll really start pumping. Oh, and nice. The hunter units did kill that Cerebrate. That means Brown is effectively out of the game. You'll notice this blue Zergling. This happens when there's a Zergling egg hatching, and the controller of that egg loses the match. So then you'll see either one or both the Zerglings will pop out as a blue color. That's just one of the quirks of StarCraft. It's a hard life for science vessels right now until we clear more of Brown, or not Brown, but Orange out of the field. Giant buildup of hunter units back home. These guys will probably become active very soon. The tanks, unfortunately, are still going to be stuck until we're done upgrading to 3-3. When we hit 3-3, the engineering bay should lift off and free these units. But until then, they're just going to kind of be stuck here because they got fenced in by the buildings. Worker transfer over to our new base, which will be great. As soon as this is up and running, everybody will begin harvesting minerals, which we desperately need at this point.
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
I apologize, my throat's getting kind of dried out. I had a water bottle, but I've long since finished it.
Not enough minerals.
Our clump of units pushing forward. We're nearly at the point where we're going to hit max supply. We do need a couple more SE supply depots built. This command center will get us really close to 200, but we'll need one more supply depot finished. It's added, everyone begins mining. And then at this point, insanitybot will tack on a couple more barracks, but we're already at the point where this bio-army is going to get turned loose, and we'll really start pushing into Orange. They have 2-1 upgrades. I believe 3-2 is almost finished. You'll notice Orange's Queens making active use of their ensnare ability. That's the green goop on a lot of our units. It's actually a good move against like a massive chunk of bio like this. So when a unit is hit by ensnare, they are slowed in both movement as well as attack speed. So a stimmed Marine with ensnare on them fires the same speed as a normal Marine without stim. So like it effectively nullifies the benefit that stim provides. And you see Dark Swarm is hit. There are a couple Zerglings under here that are effectively invincible, and insanitybot doesn't know or isn't intelligent enough to know to back up away from the Dark Swarm and engage outside of it. So this swarm is a good move on Orange's part. Of course, it also works both ways. The Hydralisks are not able to kill the Marines themselves, so it's all on the Zerglings to do that. First attack cleared out a fair number of defenders, but still a ways to go. That's alright though, because our production is coming up to its maximum. We add a second starport for even more vessel production. Queuing units, that's interesting. He normally shouldn't queue any units, so that's really interesting to see. He only gives a build command if... oops, didn't mean to push that. He only gives a build command if the facility itself is idle with nothing building. So to see it queue up 3 vessels back to back is kind of out of the ordinary. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that. You'll see the force is still holding their ground and making up a little bit of space. The vessels again will suffer by the spore colony and the occasional scourge. That is until the tanks are let loose. And again, that'll happen when 3-3 finishes, which is underway. The tanks aren't required by any means to effectively push into Orange's base, but they certainly do help for taking out static defense. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe he'll tack on 3 more barracks as long as he has money for it.
Your forces are under attack.
Vessels will irradiate anything they deem of value. And yeah, it may look like we're not making any progress, but we really are, because Orange has a lot of units at the get-go, but as we continue to push in and kill these units and kill buildings and stuff, Orange pulls more and more of their static units from the back. So a lot of these Hydralisks are already existing in different parts of, just standing around defending an area, and the campaign AI will pull more and more of those units down to help defend, and then it reaches a certain point where it no longer has anything extra to pull from, and it's solely reliant on its hatcheries, which Orange doesn't have too many hatcheries to actually produce units from. So eventually it reaches a point where insanitybot's production is just too much for Orange to handle, and it'll fold. The rough points are this initial point of contact, because just the sheer number of units that Orange has at its disposal, and then there's a ramp up here to get to the high ground where the final objective is on, and that ramp's a little rough because it has some sunken colonies around it that make pushing up a very tricky endeavor, but we have enough Marines where we can pretty much push wherever.
Your forces are under attack. Your forces are under attack. Your forces are under attack.
Yeah, and when 3-3 finishes, this will really help to let loose these units stuck over there.
Your forces are under attack.
So yeah, as you can see, it's kind of a trade-off, because clumping up units and moving in a formation across the map can kind of be clunky at times, especially trying to move around corners and such and terrain features. But it does allow for a stronger fighting force because they're more clustered, as opposed to streaming units across as soon as they're built. That gets the units to the front faster, but oftentimes they're really strung out and can get picked off easier. There's those infested Terrans I was talking about, blowing up clusters of units and being a nuisance overall. But yeah, this is the next choke point that'll be difficult because the enemy really doesn't want to let insanitybot up this ramp, so it'll try everything it can to push us back down. Radiate's going off. And you notice the vessels are like all the way back here, and that's because the barracks are reinforcing units at the front actively. The centralized point of the squad is really strung out because there are units of the squad all the way at the front, and there are units in the squad all the way at the back being built. So that leads the vessels to kind of hang out in between, at least until a squad gains enough units at the front to be considered, you know, up here. But yeah, like I said, as you can see, like we got pushed back multiple times, but our production is just simply too much for Orange to keep up with, and we'll just slowly grind these defenses to dust with just a steady stream of fresh blood. There's just some units from this group over here. They gained vision of neutral units around them, so they went over to try to clear a few of them out. So to end this mission, we actually need to place 4 medics, one into each of these yellow circle areas that you see here. And it's funny because the occasional medic will like bump into it naturally and complete the objective, but just to ensure that it always happens, once we destroy the final Cerebrate and there are no more Zerg enemies on the map, we pause all of insanitybot's actions, and then we just tell every medic on the map to come to the beacons, and we just kind of loop around and make sure they get there. Oh, yeah. Floodgate was opened. Tanks are on the way. They'll finally start to shell these high ground defenses. Yeah, the poor vessels keep losing their lives to this. And it is gone. So yeah, the flood of Marines continues. The tanks will slowly move their way forward as they shell things that are a little bit outside of the way of the normal Marine path. But yeah, there are just a few more collections of lurkers to deal with, and once the lurkers are dead, we'll pretty much be done. You see this this circle here changed colors. That's because a medic stepped into it. So once a medic steps in, it'll change from from yellow to gray, and that just lets you know that that objective is completed. First Terran units have reached the Cerebrate. More will come as there's just a long line of Marine and medic all the way back. Just the second we lose supply, we immediately fill it back up. Again, this is interesting that you see the queuing up units. It's not normally supposed to do that, so that's very interesting to see. But this is the Cerebrate's last few moments here. Even if units pop out, they'll just get gunned down immediately. We got 3 Marines. That is it. It is done. We give a short little pause just to make sure everything finishes how it's supposed to, and then the medics will run over and complete the objective. There's like a slight little delay, making sure there's enough time for them to run to each individual beacon. Before it is finished, the medics will suppress the overmind, and then it'll be in full control of the UED. And yeah, that is the mission, and as a whole, all in all, this last mission, it was difficult to approach the different problems, but all in all, it was actually quite fun to come up with, 3 different solutions for 3 different problems, each one sequential on the map. So it was a lot of fun to, fine tune the drop ships to take out red. It was fun to try to figure out how to best deal with the Tarrasque, and add the addition of siege tanks with my defensive comp. And then it was fun to figure out the right way to just absolutely annihilate orange with the sheer power of production. So all in all, an extremely fun time was had creating this AI. I really enjoyed myself. It was tough at times, but it was a very positive experience at the end of the day. So Admiral Dougal, 50-50 for his damage, talking it out with Kerrigan, and after that we'll be officially done. We'll get a time, and then we'll give an official time for the automated completion of this campaign. Thank you again for everybody that took the time to watch through this series. I appreciate your interest. If you want to see more bots doing things in StarCraft, please check out the Student StarCraft AI Tournament. There's a website you can go to. It has a lot of cool information, videos, and those kind of things. There's also a Twitch stream constantly running for bots fighting other bots in StarCraft Broodwar on the multiplayer. But yeah, here we are with 35 minutes and 37 seconds. And if we just come out to add that, 35 minutes and what did I say, 37 seconds? And 37 seconds for a grand total of, so 50 plus 37 is 87. So that's 145 plus 36. $181, and then 37 plus 50 divided by 60. That is 181 minutes and 45 seconds for the entire campaign. So a little over 3 hours, which is completely feasible for somebody to come in and just crush this. So I do hope to see that someday. Maybe if other people want to do other campaigns, different races, or kind of fine-tune a campaign to be ridiculously fast, even faster than the human times out there, that would be awesome as well. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed, and probably never see you again.